Today I'm joined by Jo Starr, who is the CEO of Save a Child's Heart in Australia. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Before we get into the nitty-gritty of what you do, please visit thesocialblueprint.org.au to see all the upcoming events and goings-on in the community and to see what's happening around the place. So you've just come back from an incredible trip to both Israel and Rwanda and with Save a Child's Heart, and I'd love to hear more about that trip. So start at the beginning with the Israel part. What did you see? How did it go?
Okay, it was unbelievable. But it started with, I landed in Israel at midday on a Monday. By 2:00 in the afternoon, I was standing in an operating room right next to the surgeon doing a cath procedure on a 6-year-old Israeli child. And I thought I'd be squirmish, but I was actually okay. So that's how it started. And I just thought, wow, this is incredible. So I was in Israel for 10 days. And for those 10 days, I immersed myself in all things to do with Save a Child's Heart. So as far as meeting the entire medical team in all the different wards, I visited and spent time at the children's home, which we'll talk about afterwards, where, you know, all the children that have come from overseas are being treated. I had meetings with some business associates. So, but the majority of the time I was at the hospital. I also got to experience standing in open heart surgery next to the doctor as well.
Wow.
So besides the cath procedure, and
just
literally, you know, just standing next to him and watching, and he was explaining to me, you know, they had to stop the child's heart. This was a 6-month-old Ethiopian Jewish child. So they had to stop the heart, and the amount of respect that you have for these surgeons, because the tiniest little slip or snip extra, that would have been it. So it was just absolutely incredible to see what they do and to see the facilities of where they operate from. It's a brand new building, the Sylvan Adams Childrens Hospital, and meet the team. It was just incredible. So,
and I imagine, as confronting as that must be to stand untrained watching an open heart surgery on a child, there's a lot of hope in that too. It's a different Israel experience and a lot of people have been having of late. And it gives a different perspective on things to see hope coming from such amazing expertise.
Absolutely. And to see that all these children are being saved. Well, when I say all, the majority of them, you know, they've got a chance for a healthy life where before they didn't. So
it's amazing.
Yeah.
So then how did the Rwanda part add on to that?
So the Rwanda part happened when I was sitting in our CEO, the head of the organisation, Simon Fisher's office, in a meeting with him on the Wednesday, and he turned around and said, "We're going to Rwanda next week on a medical mission, and I think you should come." I said, "Right." He said, "I think you should join us." I said, "Okay, so why not?" So Friday was Shabbat in Israel. Monday, Tuesday was Yom HaZikaron and Yom HaAtzmaut, and they were leaving on the Wednesday. So I said, fine, okay, we really need to get our skates on. I need vaccinations. And so that's how I wasn't expecting to go to Rwanda. So that took me completely by surprise.
How many people were going that you were going to accompany?
There were about 21. So the 21 consisted of the medical team from Save a Child's Heart, doctors, nurses, ICU people, and some fellows, some trainees, and then there were some from management as well. So
okay, so tell us about that.
So
the trip to Rwanda.
So it's nothing like I expected.
I
thought Rwanda very much underdeveloped. But it was so beautiful. It was so lush, so green, so modern compared to other African countries that I have, like, that I visited.
Mhm.
So it was incredible. And the hospital as well.
When you got there and you went straight to a hospital facility?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it is the major hospital in the main area of Rwanda called Kigali.
Mhm.
That's where we were based. And they had set up there, the Save a Child's Heart, they'd set up a whole cath lab where they were performing all their procedures.
Mhm.
And then separately, they'd set up an ICU ward as well.
Yeah.
So what we did throughout the week, we treated, or we operated cath operations on 22 children. So we did that for the week. And that was over 5 days, I think it was.
Okay.
5 days. And then we also diagnosed around about another 30 children. So they will be rated to see if they're going to be coming to Israel,
Mhm.
so which we'll talk about
Mhm.
after. So we did that, and
So are these children? Those ones had already been assessed and were ready for the procedures by this team that had come. Without the team coming, would they have made the trip to Israel, or they wouldn't?
They wouldn't have been treated. The children were actually assessed pre
The visit.
pre Save a Child's Heart arriving.
Mhm.
But when Save a Child's Heart arrived, they reassessed them to make sure that they could perform the procedures on them.
Okay.
Because sometimes there's complications and they just can't do it. So
And are there the facilities in the Rwandan hospital to meet what they need?
No, not without the Save a Child. This particular cath procedure,
Mhm.
not at the moment, because they don't have the doctors at the moment to be able to do it.
Okay.
That's, so we've got some doctors in training.
Yep.
There is a surgeon,
Mhm.
a heart surgeon there, who
Yep.
I'll talk about
Yep.
afterwards, Dr. Yayu, who's
Yep.
married to somebody from Melbourne. So there is a heart surgeon who can do
Right.
open heart surgery,
Yes.
but they don't have the medical staff to do the cath procedures
But
at the
in
moment.
terms of equipment and to be able to use, are they bringing that with them on their mission, or they're making do with what's there?
They are making do with a lot of what's there, but then they also have to bring the stents and so they bring those with them.
So how often does a mission like this happen?
Well, this is the first one to Rwanda.
Right.
So we haven't done a proper cath mission before.
Amazing for you to be part of it.
I know. So generally, I think they try and do like one proper mission a year. And my understanding is there is going to be a mission to Tanzania, I think, later on in the year. So if they don't do a whole cath mission, if they don't do a whole mission to a country, then they do medical assessments where just the doctors go to assess the children.
Okay,
so,
but not treat.
Not treat,
right.
No, to work out.
Okay.
So the other thing that happened when I was in Rwanda, which was incredible, was when I was in Israel, I met a little girl. Her name was Shema, who had been there for 3 months. She was 9 years old, and she was there without her mother because she was at that cut-off age where her mother didn't need to go with her. Okay. So she hadn't seen her mum in 3 months. Now, this is a child that in ordinary circumstances, if she was born in a Western country, her heart condition would have been assessed or found when she was at birth.
Yeah.
And she was just very, very fortunate that she managed to survive, because a lot of what she had, the children don't survive. So she was 9 years old. She was flown to Israel. She was there for 3 months, and pre her procedure, she could not walk like 10 meters without being totally out of breath and not being able to, and her future was not looking great.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I met her in Israel and helped her pack a suitcase, went with her for her final medical checkup, etc. And then I left, or I got to Rwanda a few days before her, and then on the Sunday she flew in with a nurse, and we met her at the airport. Her mother came with us. She hadn't seen her mother for 3 months, which was so emotional. And then we went on a bus to her village, like a proper village, where the bus, we had to stop and fill the potholes with rocks just so the bus could get through. And the whole village, like the neighbours and the family, they were all celebrating because here their little girl had been returned and she was all totally healthy and she could now live
what a beautiful thing to be part of.
It was just, it was very, very special.
Did you have a chance or the ability, given language barriers, to talk to the mum at all beforehand?
Yeah. So the mother spoke English, broken English, but you know, even with the broken English, the joy, like when she saw her grandmother, you know, walked into the house and saw her grandmother, who was in tears and so emotional because, again, before she left for Israel,
she was pretty unwell.
She was very, very unwell. So now she's come back a totally healthy child, which, you know.
Beautiful.
And the thing is, though, we often take these things for granted. If, God forbid, one of our children is sick, we've got Cabrini, we've got Royal Children's, we've got, you know, and as a mum, to see your child in pain or in sick. And these are mums in other, you know, in other countries of the world that don't have access to what we have. So for me to be able to support or to know that I'm making a difference and helping to save these children's lives is really, really rewarding.
And I'm going to get to, in a minute, to unbox a little bit more about what Save a Child's Heart is and does and the facilities. But I've got to ask you, from your own personal perspective, what got you to the point of being CEO in the Australian part of Save a Child's Heart? And I guess, you know, hindsight's wonderful, but at the end of this journey, when, you know, your time as CEO comes to an end, what is it that you hope to have achieved at the end of that?
Okay, so I've known about Save a Child's Heart for many years now through friends, and I've been to some of their events, and it always resonated with me. You know, my personality is I love helping people and making a difference. And when this role came up, knowing that you are literally helping to save children's lives, it was just like a no-brainer for me. I said, I'm just going to go for it. So and I was very fortunate to get it. So
amazing.
Yeah. And as far as at the end of this journey, whenever it will be, I just hope I have the ability to make a difference to many, many more lives, you know, like save more children from these countries, you know, that don't have access to the critical care, help raise money so they can have their own medical facilities there, and also with our facilities in Israel, being able to treat and help the Israeli community as well. So it's just,
hopefully a win-win situation.
Win-win, absolutely. Yeah.
Save a Child's Heart, I think, is a name that a lot of people are familiar with in terms of an organisation, but I don't think many people know exactly what the organisation is and what the organisation does. So tell us about what it is.
Okay, Save a Child's Heart is an organisation that is based in Israel. It started in 1992 by a gentleman, a doctor by the name of Dr. Ami Cohen, who immigrated from Washington, D.C. to Israel, and he took up residency at the Wolfson Medical Center. Soon after that, he was approached by an Ethiopian lady who told him about 2 Ethiopian children that unless they got medical care for their heart, they weren't going to survive. So Dr. Ami Cohen went into the manager's office at the Wolfson Medical Centre and said, I want to treat these children. I want to bring them to Israel. Now, nothing like this had ever been done. So they said, there's complications. How can you do it? He says, we will find a way. Anyway, he wasn't taking no for an answer. They agreed that they would operate on these children. So he flew these children to Israel at his own cost. He operated on them at the Wolfson Medical Centre, and then for their recovery, he took them home and he nursed them back to health. And when they were healthy enough, they went back to Ethiopia. And this is how Save a Child's Heart started. So
beautiful story. Okay.
Yeah.
So is the affiliation now still ongoing only with the Wolfson Medical Centre? Does it operate just out of the one hospital?
So the Wolfson Medical Centre hospital is based in Holon and just outside Tel Aviv. Now, at first, Save a Child's Heart was operating or working within the Wolfson Medical Centre, which is a fairly old hospital.
Okay.
But in 2021, thanks to the support of many generous donors, in particular a gentleman by the name of Sylvan Adams, a donor from Canada, there is a purpose-built paediatric hospital, 7 floors, attached to the Wolfson Medical Centre. So it's a standalone hospital, state-of-the-art, 7 floors, and that is where all the procedures and that is where Save a Child's Heart operates from.
Wow. Okay, so it's come a long way in a pretty short amount of time.
Yeah.
So how does it work on a practical level? You know, you've got sick children, I'm gathering from what you just said, well, at that point from Ethiopia. How do they become known to the team with Save a Child's Heart? How do they get from, point A to point B to be treated?
Okay, so having just experienced that, there's a number of ways that these children end up in Israel. Mm-hmm. One of the ways is that these countries have their own group of doctors that assess the children for heart disease.
So it's all heart related?
Save a Child's Heart is all heart related. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's all heart related and it's under the age of 18.
Okay.
So, so these children are diagnosed in their own countries, and most of the time these countries do not have the facilities, the capacity to treat these children. So they are ranked in order of, I'll say, priority, and that is decided by the doctors, because unfortunately there are children that cannot be saved. So they're all ranked according to priority. And then these children are taken to Israel. So, and the team in Israel organise all the visas and all the passports, and because you can imagine that a lot of these countries where there is no access to critical care, to try and get all the documentation is not that easy for them. So the team in Israel organise all of this, and most of the time the children will travel to Israel with a guardian, which again most of the time is their mother. So they will come to Israel with their mother. Generally I think the cutoff age is 9. So if the child is over 9, they will travel without their mother, but there will always be either a nurse or another mother who is escorting another child. So there's no, children will not get on a plane by themselves. So they will always come. Yeah. So that's one way that they get to Israel.
Yeah.
The other way is, again, which we'll talk about, is like we have there are what we call missions for Save a Child's Heart,
Yeah.
where a team from the Save a Child's Heart Israel will go to countries, these certain countries, and they will set up a clinic where they will diagnose and look at however many children they can fit into that period that they are there, and then they will assess again which ones they feel that can come to Israel, and then they will take them to Israel, and then they'll be sent to Israel.
So it sounds like there's quite a team behind the team, as well as a team of doctors, a big team behind them in Israel, a support crew, for want of a better description.
Yes.
From, as you said, the logistics of passports and visas and paperwork, it must be a very well-oiled machine. Is it a big crew?
No, it's not, but it's very fine-tuned.
Yeah.
So it's not a big team, but every person that is part of the team is so dedicated and so used to doing this that it just gets done.
And is there relatively a high success rate with the treatment? In terms of, I mean, I imagine there are kids that they think they can help that maybe they can't end up helping, or is it vetted well enough that they?
From what I understand and what I've seen, that the majority, I'd say nearly all of the children that are flown to Israel for treatment, they return back to their homelands healthy. Now, these are children that if they didn't have this treatment, their likelihood of living a healthy life would be minimal, and a lot of them would not even survive past a few years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Making a huge difference.
Yeah.
Is the affiliation with African countries specifically?
No. So we have taken in children from over 70 different countries. Wow. Yeah. So there are a lot of the African countries, but we've also had children from Ukraine and from Russia, and I don't know, there's lots of them, but no, it's definitely not.
But how do they cope, or from your knowledge, being separated? That's pretty traumatic and a really big deal for young kids. You know, even if they're 12, I mean, you were saying under 9, but over 9, they don't necessarily have a parent. That must be a huge deal, not only for the children, but for the families.
Yeah. So when they arrive in Israel, there is a children's home, again, which was purpose-built. So, and at any one time in the children's home, there are on average 30 children from different parts of the world, and there are 30 carers. Now, if the child's mother or guardian cannot come, there will always be either a nurse, and there are several nurses, and when I say nurse, it's somebody that speaks their language, because you've got all these children from all different parts of the world who don't speak to each other, you can't communicate with each other.
With the doctors,
So, and again, if the mother or the guardian is not there, another parent of the same nationality will take them under their wing and just, nurture. But also, we are very fortunate that we have a large group of volunteers, mainly young kids. When I say, young adults. Young adults that visit the home on a regular basis, and they play with the kids, and they also form the bond. And just because you can't necessarily communicate verbally, there are other ways to communicate. So as far as them, it is hard when you don't see, but there's distractions all the time.
So how long, I mean, at any one time, there's obviously a home full of kids. How long on average are they there for?
On average, well, it depends. It depends. It's like a lot. Like if the children are coming over for what they call cath procedures, which are non-invasive,
Okay.
then they could be there for a few weeks to a month. If they're coming for open heart surgery, then it's a lot longer. So it depends what they're coming for.
And at what point are they then sent back home? I mean, is it at the point where they're fully recovered if they've had open heart surgery, to take the extreme? If they at what point of their recovery can they go back home and know that they're being supported by a healthcare system that might not be as developed?
So that is determined by the doctors at the hospital who monitor them. They have echograms and they are monitored regularly.
Mm-hmm.
So when they feel that they are well enough and healthy enough and all their vitals are okay, they will release them to go home. But when they're released, they are given the medication that they need. So there is a whole plan, and they say once a SACH child, always a SACH child. So it's all, and when they go back to their home country, there is constant communication between the health people in the country and the Save a Child's Heart team in Israel.
Okay, so I want to touch, when you talk about the team in Israel, I want to touch on the doctors and the team in Israel a little bit more. Are the doctors primarily Israeli doctors? So a couple of questions in that, sorry. Are the doctors primarily Israeli doctors, or do those doctors train the doctors in the countries where the kids are coming from? And the other part of that is, are these doctors only working with Save a Child's Heart children? Is this a side gig? Is it what they're doing all day, every day?
Okay, so the Israeli doctors that treat the children from Save a Child's Heart, they are employed by the Wolfson Medical Centre, and all the work that they do for Save a Child's Heart is purely volunteer. So what they do is above and beyond their shift. So they don't get, they do it all out of the goodness of their heart. So, for example, this medical mission, there were 21 of the medical team that went over to Rwanda. All of them did it as volunteers. They took it out of their holiday pay, and they all just wanted to do that. So, yeah. But I'll also add that these Israeli doctors that work out of the Sylvan Adams Centre, the hospital that was built, they treat, or will treat Israel like the Israeli community as well. Okay. So this hospital, I'll get back to the doctors, the other doctors in a sec, but I just want to just explain that this hospital that was purpose-built for Save a Child's Heart actually treats approximately 10% of all the children in Israel for paediatric needs, not just cardiac. It's just general. Okay. So it's not just, for Save a Child's Heart. So it's all the kids. And the same facility is the facility that when after October 7 and all the injured and all the people were, a lot of them were sent to the Sylvan Adams, to the Save a Child Heart building, because we had such great facilities. Yes. And when the group of hostages were released as well, they were taken to Sylvan Adams Hospital. Okay. So we treated, so they were all housed there. So as much as we do for the children from Save a Child's Heart, like the children from overseas, we also play a huge part in the Israeli community as well. Yeah, because that's what I was going to ask you, that the medical profession and facilities for a period of time would have continue to be under a lot of pressure in light of what's going on in Israel, and I was wondering about the impact that pressure would have had on the facility. And as you say, they're obviously doing other work. I was just there, and only 2 weeks before I got there, the whole neonatal ward was moved down into the bunker. Okay. Because, because when you have to move things around. So they were all, that's the most
Yeah.
protective area. So the whole, and they only moved them back 2 weeks ago. So, yeah.
Amazing.
So, yeah. So,
okay. So going back,
to
yeah,
the
to the
fellows.
other, yes.
Okay. So the team, the doctors from Save a Child's Heart, as in the trainees.
Yes.
Okay. Where they come from all different parts of the world, mainly
Right.
Africa at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah. So they all work alongside the doctors, the Israeli doctors,
Right.
and they are fully hands-on with everything that the Israeli doctors are doing. They're allowed to, you know, when if they're training to be a paediatric cardiosurgeon,
Mm-hmm.
they are given the opportunity to actually get in there and not just
Right.
observe, but yeah.
Do.
Now these doctors, these fellows, I'll call them.
Yeah.
Again, we're very fortunate where they are sponsored by different donors from around the world.
Amazing. Yeah.
And I have to say, from Australia, we are very proud that the Weislitz Foundation currently have 3 fellows underneath the foundation.
Amazing.
And one of them is a pediatric intensive care nurse, doctor who's going to be going back to Rwanda, and she is going to be managing the whole intensive care. And then there's also a surgeon surgeon from Zambia and a surgeon from Ethiopia. So
okay, and they then go back. The aim is for them to go back with these skills.
Yeah. So it's like the saying, sorry to interrupt, it's like the saying, give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day, teach him how to fish, and he'll eat for a lifetime.
Yeah.
So what our aim is that we take on these fellows, and it is our aim to build cardiac teams, pediatric cardiac teams in each of these countries, so they can treat their own people, rather than, because, I mean, to keep flying children into Israel.
Yes.
Yeah. So we've currently got a full team in Tanzania.
Wow.
So there's about 14 of them. So we've trained the ICU surgeons, nurses. So there's a whole
Incredible.
team.
Yeah.
Also proud to say that one of the first surgeons that trained with us was Dr. Yayu, who is married to a Melbourne girl, Cynthia Fayman.
Yeah.
So Yayu is from Ethiopia, and when he finished his training, he went back to Ethiopia with the plan of setting up the cardio team, but unfortunately, due to the situation in Ethiopia at the moment, Save a Child's Heart did a deal between Ethiopia and Rwanda, so they're sort of like borrowed for the next few years. So the team from Ethiopia have moved to Rwanda, but they will still, if there's children from Ethiopia that need treatment, they will be taken to Rwanda unless they go to Israel. So Yayu and his team are working out together. Rwanda. Yeah.
Given how much work and how expensive it all sounds, what's the pressing need at the moment? If I said to you, "Here's $1 million," what would you what would you spend it on? What does Save a Child's Heart need at the moment?
Okay, well, what we really need is to buy additional equipment for the hospital, and there are all different items like X-ray machines and heart-lung monitors, beds, and which is all very, very costly. There is also, which is a major project that we're working on, the 3rd floor of the building is sitting empty at the moment because the plan is, and it's all drawn up and ready to go, but we just don't have the funds, to set up a world-class simulation centre where doctors from around the world, from all around Israel, can come and practice and update their skills by this whole, you know,
with the
this,
setup.
yeah, with the setup.
And I guess that probably partly then answers my next question, which is a bit tongue in cheek to say, or hypothetically, if I'm somebody that, you know, wants to donate my $1 million, and I say to you, but you know, I want my money at the moment to go to Israel, or I want my money to go to something Jewish, and it seems to me that you're saving lots of African lives, which is unbelievable, full stop. How do you respond to someone with that attitude?
Well, the money that we get it will go towards the hospital, which, as I said before, we treat approximately 10% of Israeli children, and you know, others when needed. So it is a Jewish cause, and it is it's one of the best paediatric hospitals that side, and it's something that if somebody does want Israel related, it's definitely worthwhile, in my opinion.
Thank you. It's been amazing talking to you and hearing about your journey through
Thank you for having me.
Save a Child's Heart, and look forward to seeing what amazing work they continue to do and that you continue to be part of.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.